What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Emperor John Kill 3D, here to tell you why Resident Evil 2 was the game of 2019. There was a lot of great games in 2019. I've played quite a few games in 2019, but none of them, the only game that actually comes close to this is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order due to the replayability. But Resident Evil 2 just gave me that extra motivation. Why? Because not only was this a trip down memory lane, because when I was young and I had the PS2, since that was backwards compatible back then, I had Resident Evil. I had Resident Evil Director's Cut and I had Resident Evil 2. But I played in Resident Evil 2 on N64. And then later on played the double disc on PlayStation. But when I heard that this game was being remade in the same vein as RE1, but this shows that they could use the third person action perspective behind the shoulder in a more grounded and horror tense situation. Because with Resident Evil entering an identity crisis after part 4, not knowing what it truly wanted to be, despite I did like part 6, didn't really like part 5, absolutely love 4, 3 is my favorite of the series. 2 was my favorite for a long time until 3. And now that 3 is getting a remake this year, you couldn't ask to be a Resident Evil fan at a much better time. Now, this game was horrifically beautiful. And what I mean by horrifically beautiful, it was horrifying. Playing this in the dark with your headphones blasting the sound effects in your ears and you're alone in the house makes you want to play this game with the door locked. And I don't do that with many games. And yet, though this game had given me moments of scaring the living shit out of me, the puzzles, you know, I'm not the best with puzzles. So this game took me, I want to say, 2 full weeks of playing it straight through, because I was also searching every nook and cranny. I was searching for any weapon, any ammo, anything I need, so when I know I got to the boss, or any boss, I would be able to handle the situation. The whole police station is a beautiful recreation of the classic. You will recognize certain areas and areas that are brand new to you. The reason why Capcom has decided to remake these games is because they also want to keep it consistent. The storyline consistent, because there was a lot of changes done to the Resident Evil timeline after part 3 that it felt like 2 and 3, none of those incidences were really delved into afterwards. But this game gives us one more trip down there. Enemies such as Lickers, which if you have played this game, and if you haven't played this game, right now it's on sale for $20. Here's a tip for returning players and old players. Or not old players, returning players and new players. Sorry about that. If you come across a Licker, forgive my voice, it's a little hoarse because I was playing the game most of the night, screaming and yelling to the top of my lung, because I wanted to replay this again to get my full thoughts on it. Depending on how you play this game, it will determine your experience. But every zombie in this game, and I've never felt threatened by zombies in any game. Scratch that. The original Resident Evil games. Something about Resident Evil zombies, they're just more threatening. And here, one zombie is hard to take down. And you trying to find different items, micromanaging yourself. The characters this time around, how they decided to decrease Leon's badass, not tough guy, but I'm a badass secret agent attitude, which he did develop over time, but this takes us to a time where he wasn't that way. He was just, you know, a cop sworn to his civil duties, and then meeting Claire Redfield. But what makes this game great in every aspect is you have a reason to go back and play it for the different scenarios, for the different item locations, for the different weapon placement. Just because it takes place in the same locations It's not the same game going the second time around. It's not the same thing going the third time around. You'll think you'll master it. Yes, you'll master, I would say, about 50% of it. But then you have this whole other percentage that will throw you for a loop. Claire's scenario, Leon's scenario, like scenario A from the original, very straightforward. Scenario B, for both characters, throws things for a loop and mixes things up. Like the second time I tried to play on the second scenario with Leon, because I beat the first two scenarios first together, back to back. Then I started the second scenario. I thought I knew what I was doing. Yeah, I knew what I was doing, but then I realized that I was like, oh my goodness, it's in reverse, or it's backwards. The quality that Capcom put into this game shows that they really did still care about Resident Evil. Resident Evil, for many fans, was feared that it was going to go down the wrong path and it was going to just fade into obscurity. No. This game gives the fans what they want. When you go back and beat this game multiple times, you unlock many secrets. You know, you get to play as Hunk in the 4th Survivor mission. Hell, you can play as Tofu Man. It sounds silly, but it's fun. Then, infinite ammo, which was the staple of all things to unlock in the original games. And this game makes you earn it. The game tells you how many times you've died, how many zombies you've killed, how long it's taken you to get through certain areas, so you can go back and best challenge yourself. That's what this game does. This game took an old style of gameplay and successfully brought it to the modern era. People will say, well, Sekiro is Game of the Year, or Mortal Kombat, Game of the Year. You know, any of those games, like fighting games, action-adventure games. Hell, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order almost was my Game of the Year, because yes, it has the same level of replayability, but in that game, I mastered everything quickly, which leaves me hungering for more. Unlike that, Resident Evil, not only does it satisfy me, this game will hold me over until RE3. And I wish that they would go back and give one more treatment to Resident Evil 1 and give us this perspective of the game. This over-the-shoulder perspective. I think it would work. And if Resident Evil did it correctly, co-op could make a return, because in RE3 you have Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira. I think that would be the perfect time to reintroduce co-op, because co-op doesn't have to be you two have to stick together. The game could separate the both of you. It could work. You could be separated in many different locations and then get back to each other. But imagine the stuff that you have to endure to get to each other. The voice acting is spot on. The look and the feel is spot on. Capcom truly cared about this game, and you as a fan should support this game. I know we're on the cusp of now the next generation of consoles, but if it's true with next generation consoles being backwards compatible, hopefully this game, I guarantee this game will be one of the ones backwards compatible. You know it, I know it, we all should know it. But Resident Evil 2, this remake of 2019 that had passed this year, it started off the year with a bang. This game sets the standard for Resident Evil from this point forward. Capcom has to see it. So that's the reasons why Resident Evil 2 for me is my game of the year. And if you have your game of the year, let me know in the comments.